Let's go over Rian Johnson's statements of the humor in Star Wars The Last Jedi. This is Mike Zero here once again. If you guys are new here to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, as you all know, The Last Jedi has been receiving a ton of criticism, especially when it comes to the humor that is embedded within this film, on whether or not it's oversaturated or perfectly leveled or too over the top. Rian Johnson took over to the Bullseye podcast to discuss and reach out to the fans of why he inserted the humor in The Last Jedi and exactly where he got it from. So when it comes to Star Wars The Last Jedi, this is what director and writer Rian Johnson had to say about the humor in his movie. So he states this: "That feels like the original movies to me. I would, I guess, argue at both sides of the spectrum, both in terms of the humor in The Last Jedi and the humor in the original films. If you go back and revisit them, there's a lot more of it there than you remember, and some of it is just wisecracky jokey, just because it's coming from my own personal sense of humor. I'm sure there's a difference between each one of the movies and between this one as well." He goes on to say, "I also thought in The Force Awakens, one of the things I loved about it was how light on its feet it was and how it had that great Larry Kasdan crackle to the dialogue, and there was always a sense of swashbuckling fun to it, I guess." Now he goes on to say, "I was in terms of conscious choice in terms of the humor. I knew that because this was the middle chapter. I knew that it was going to get a little darker in parts. I knew that we were going to be throwing some rough stuff at these characters," Johnson said. "I also, quite frankly, knew that we were going to be sitting on an island with Rey and grumpy old Luke debating religion for half the movie. If you were to ask me, what does 10-year-old you think Star Wars is, it's fun, and so it was really important to me to get humor in there, to have this thing be a blast on every level." So that's what Rian Johnson had to say on the Bullseye podcast when it comes to the humor of The Last Jedi. Now, I want to put out one example, one scene that I honestly didn't really like too much, and it's perfectly fun if you guys enjoy this, but it was the training scene between both Luke Skywalker and Rey, when Rey is on Luke Skywalker's meditation rock on that cliff, which, by the way, is amazing scenery. Amazing scenery. That's the same exact rock that you do see at the very end of the movie where Luke Skywalker dies on top of it. But in that scene, alright, she's training, she's meditating, and it's interrupted by comedy where Luke Skywalker essentially slaps her with a stick and he tells her that it's the Force. I wasn't too crazy about that scene overall. It kind of felt like it split the scene into two, and it just sort of seemed like it interrupted it. I don't know if you guys agree with me or disagree with me on that, but that's how I felt with that scene. That's my honest opinion on how the scene felt to me. So overall, guys, I mean, the humor worked in parts for me in The Last Jedi. There were parts of the movie where it did in fact feel over the top and a little bit too funny for me, where it came to the point where it was like, okay, they could have done that a little bit differently, or they could have toned that down a little bit here and there. But overall, guys, let me know what you think about the humor in Star Wars The Last Jedi. Was it oversaturated? Was it too over the top? Was it pretty leveled for you guys? What's your opinion on the humor, and do you agree or disagree with Rian Johnson's statements on the humor for Star Wars The Last Jedi? Well, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you all enjoyed the content for today, and if you did, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.